But here we have Brendan, and we will get through it's a BWV 846, the famous Prelude in C major.
I've been playing through the well-tempered clavier for a few years. I did an undergrad in jazz, and I first discovered it there. And it's kind of one of the few classical works that seems to be in the piano bench of every jazz pianist. One of my struggles with that prelude is the bass voice and the tenor voice are notated as two different voices, and I feel like no matter how hard I try, I just can't bring that out. So I don't know if anyone has any advice on that. I met this pianist from New York who told me that she always plays the tenor voice with her index finger, so that it always sounds like the same. It always sounds like the same voice. But yeah, that's such a struggle for me. So I appreciate that. Just a heads up that I need to keep.
Yeah, Brandon, it's so obvious and it's so simple, but for some reason, it never really clicked in my head that like the bass and the tenor are stemmed differently as different voices. I don't know. It's sort of like I looked at it, but then maybe my brain just checked out, and it's like I've heard this piece so many times, I don't really need to look at the stems. But like you also said that it wasn't that complex, and you would separate that you have in that left hand and in the right hand. But yeah, it reminds me of that quote by Chopin, like the ultimate sophistication is simplicity. So sometimes being able to distill something into its basest elements is wisdom in and of itself. So I've studied music for a good long time, and I totally just missed that detail, and it seems to be a pretty important and fundamental one. I really liked your commitment to the articulation, and I felt like it was an attempt to be historical without being pedantic in a way, because sometimes like the whole historically informed performance thing and this commitment to period instruments can sometimes be a little, in the hands of some people, some professionals, it can be really pedantic, and there can be this like presumptuousness and like I know exactly what Bach wanted, and I'm the only one who sort of is delivering the pure will of Johann Sebastian Bach. But I felt that you used whatever you know about historical instruments and historical performance, you used it in as a way to sort of look to the past, to add an element of fun and quirkiness. I wonder too if you could experiment with, if you take that idea even further. I don't know if this is what you were already doing, because as Josephine had mentioned, there's some limitations to how much we can really pick up on the nuances hearing online and through recordings. But what if you really did just flip the piece, kind of like Notch's Czerny etude, and just focus on the left hand and almost let the right hand recede even further? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I just want to say that after Brendan, you played the two voices, and then I heard Anton do that, they popped out to me, and I'm like, oh, it sounds like a different piece now. So if you have issue with not bringing out a certain voice, it's always a good and fun idea to overdo it just like a few times, and then you're like, now your perception of the piece is completely different. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to hear now those just the two voices. When Anton, you made a pass through, I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm hearing a different line now instead of the usual higher notes.
I want these workshops to, yes, be like, there's a lot of technique and classical history and more of these philosophical things of like, what is interpretation and how do we really become performers, and what's our relationship to the music, both as players and listeners, but also like a space for discovering new music.